Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Today we are here with week number 18 of the hashtag 52 projects. And for those of you who are new, the 52 projects is just a quick project that I bring to you every week. They're under 30 minutes from start to finish. I find them on YouTube, Pinterest, Instagram. I make them up, whatever happens goes. So this week I chose the Tall and Warmth cheer box from Sam Donaldson, who is Poodle's Papercraft here on YouTube. This was her 2016 advent calendar box. It is super cute. It's very easy. Here's the box. It is very tall. I did not decorate it yet because I don't know what exactly I'm going to do with it. So the box is 6 by 2 5/8. 1, 3, 5, yep. So it's a pretty big box. Inside right now I put some various rosettes, which I am going to show you how to make the rosettes as well. I need to turn my hot glue gun on. Good thing I remembered. So you go ahead and turn your hot glue gun on if you want to make the rosettes from scratch, because I know a lot of people have the dies or they use their Cameo or Cricut or whatever they have, but not everyone has the dies or the cutting machines. And honestly, I'm impatient when I'm waiting for the Cameo to cut out the rosettes. I just prefer to do them by hand. They're faster to me anyway. Okay, so go ahead and write down what you need to write down. You only need one 8 by 11 piece of paper, cardstock, and then you need a lid, whatever you want your lid to be. I just picked this piece of pattern paper. It's a one-sided 6 by 6 from a paper pad I had. I think it's a Dovecraft paper pad I've had for years. And then you just need like a scrap paper for your rosettes. I'm just going to use this. It's actually not 1 by 11. It's 1 by 8.5. Or it's 8.5 by whatever this measurement is, but your rosettes, basically just use your scrap paper, and depending on the length of your paper, that's what size rosette you're gonna get. Okay, so go ahead and cut your cardstock to 8 by 11. So cut that 1/2 inch off while I close my book, week 1 book that we're still using. Okay, so you do need your scoreboard, and put your 6 by 6 piece to the side. Okay, now on your 8 by 11 sheet of paper, put the 11 inch on the top like so, and we're gonna score it at 2 5/8. The 5/8 tick mark is in between the 1/2 and the 3/4. So 2 5/8, 5 1/4, 7 7/8, which is a tick mark right before the 8, and 10 1/2. So again, 2 5/8, 5 1/4, 7 7/8, and 10 1/2. Okay, now we're going to turn it to the right to where your little flap is on the bottom, and you're going to score it at 2, and that's it. So just the one at 2, the one score line at 2 inches. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and actually we'll go ahead and score our 6 by 6 paper. Now this option is up to you. So when Sam did her box, she pulled her paper just over slightly, and she took a scrap piece of paper and stuck it right here, so she'd have that little tiny pullover. If you have the Martha Stewart board, you already have that tiny pullover, the triangle line, but I felt the lid was too big. So see how it's see the gap? So I felt that was too big, so I chose not to do the pullover method. I'm just going to score it as is, and I think it'll be fine, because this is what happens if you pull it over too far. Look at how big this box, the top is, if you start pulling over and you're wrong. So I'm not going to pull over. If you want to follow her original tutorial, then you're going to, you know, pull it over to that triangle line or the 1 cardstock length. I'm not going to do any of that. And we're going to see how it turns out. Okay, so on the lid, we're going to score at 1 5/8 on all 4 sides. So 1 5/8, turn it around, 1 5/8. And the 5/8 is the tick mark between the 1/2 and the 3/4. So there we go. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and put the scoreboard away. Okay, so now you want to get your scissors, your paper trimmer, or your X-Acto knife, whatever you want to do. And with your small flap to the right, we are going to go ahead and cut out this rectangle, the small rectangle, right here. Making sure that the score line is on the part that we cut out. Okay. We're going to go ahead and miter that corner just a little bit, like so, and miter that corner, like so. That just takes out some of the bulk. Okay, now we're just going to cut straight up on these, and I'm going to cut my score line completely out. It honestly does not matter on this box. I just like to do it. Sometimes it does matter with the bulk, but because this is a bottom of the box, it's not going to matter at all. Okay, so, and you know, I usually cut before I burnish just because I forget to burnish. You could burnish first. It might be better. All right. We will do the lid after we put this together. So let's go ahead and varnish. And varnish. And one more varnish. Okay, let's go ahead and flip our flaps in and varnish, 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 and you guessed it, varnish. Okay, and go ahead and do your last little flap if you haven't already. Varnish that in. Okay, we're gonna get our score tape, and I'm so excited because I found way back in the drawer that I did have another 3/8 inch score tape, and this is my favorite size score tape. So that was just my joy of the day. All right, let's varnish that in. Peel that off, get rid of your overhang. And all we're gonna do is fold this box over, but I have some overhang. I need to fix it. There you go, line it up straight, you're good to go. Okay, so now just open your box back up. You can do the other way. I like to fold over and it lines up straight every time. You can stand it up and try to line that corner up. However you want it closed, just get it closed. And then your bottom is going to close up like so. And I didn't cut off, actually, you know what? It honestly does not matter, just whichever way looks the best to you. All right, that way looks the best. Actually, I didn't cut this one very cleanly, so it's bigger than the rest of them. That would have bothered me, that little sliver. All is right with the world now. All I'm doing is putting score tape on my flap that's going to be on top. You can put glue or score tape and glue them all shut. If you're putting something heavy in there, I would recommend go ahead and, you know, gluing it or putting score tape, whatever. But mine is just going to have rosettes in it, and so they're, you know, they're very light. So I'm just going to do left, right, bottom, and top. Again, it does not matter. That's just how I work. Okay. All right, so your long box is done. Now we need to go ahead and focus on our lid. We're going to go ahead and fold these over. I'm not going to burnish yet. And honestly, I may not need to because this paper is very thin, but always get in the habit of burnishing, especially since the first time I put it, I was burnishing it the wrong way. Okay, so you should have something that looks like this. Now you can do the traditional cut, and then, you know, you'll have these tabs, but we're going to go ahead and do the rotate method. So that way there's not a lot of bulk. So what you're going to do is, it doesn't matter where you start, but if you're a visual learner like me, I'm going to start at the bottom right, and I'm going to cut up, and I'm going to go ahead and take that score mark out, and then on the squares, I'm going to go ahead and miter the corners just a smidgen. Okay, so you have it in your hand like this. Now you're going to flip it like so, and now we're going to cut this line. And I'm going to miter. You always miter the squares, never the rectangles. Okay, so now you have your two big old chunks. Mine are probably too much of a chunk, but I really wanted you to see that. Now we're going to go ahead and turn it to the right again, and we're going to cut this one. I always chunk a lot out on my tabs, and you guys hear me say it all the time, like, don't chunk that much, but it doesn't hurt it. Okay, in our last cut, we're going to rotate it to the right again, and we're going to go ahead and take this one out. That way we don't have a lot of bulky sides. If you worked ahead and did it the other way, like a traditional box, that's fine. It will give you the same end result. You'll just have two tabs overlapping on your rectangle. So, you know, you'll just have to cut it down or whatever. All right, let's go ahead and glue these. You can use score tape. I'm just going to use glue. It was clogged. Okay, so let's go ahead and get this done. Okay. Man, it is really clogged. That's okay. It's giving me enough to do something here. If you work quickly, you can do, you know, 2 flaps at a time or just 1 flap at a time, however fast you work. Just line up your corners. And line up that corner. Okay. And then add glue to your other 2 flaps. Line up your corners. And then do this last flap. That might be way too much glue, but that's okay. Line up your corners. Yeah, that was a lot of glue. Okay. All right. So make sure everything is all pressed in there. Your glue is evenly. I'm just going in with the bone folder, making sure that the glue is evenly distributed on that flap. Most people do this step with their hand, but I don't want any glue on my hands. And so if you look inside, you see how there's a flap on this side, a flap on this one, a flap on this one, and then a flap on that one. So that way there's not a lot of bulk. There you go. You can see that one. You can see that one really good. There's not a lot of bulk. Because if you try to put the flaps on the same side, they're going to overlap and it's going to be bulk. So, you know, either way, it'll give you the same end results. Okay, so the box is done. Lid is done. Yeah, see, I think I like that fit way better without pulling it over or anything like that. So it's fine. It's still loose. It's an easy on-off. She tied hers with a ribbon. So we're good to go. All right, let's switch over to our rosettes. Like I said, you're going to need your scratch paper, however you want to do it, your hot glue gun, on. Oh, you know what? Mine's not even plugged in. Okay, so my hot glue gun is plugged in. It's hot. It's dripping, so it's ready to go. I do suggest having a silicone mat. I got this one from Scrapbook Expo. It was like $1. You can, any silicone mat, like if you go in Walmart baking section, they have like the same size for like 88 cents. So you can go to Dollar Tree, whatever, just a silicone mat. You can buy the expensive name brand ones, but the dollar ones work just as well. I'm going to pull that off camera so we can go ahead and do what we need to do here. All right, so if you're making a whole bunch of them, this is the easiest way to do it. Take your paper, whatever paper you're using, and you're going to make a whole bunch at the same time, okay? I'll show you. So what we're going to do is score. You're going to put the long side of your paper on the top, okay? And you're going to score it every 1/4 of an inch. So 1/4, half, 3/4, 1, 1 1/4, 1 1/2, 1 3/4, 2, 2 1/4, 2 1/2, 3 3, or 2 3/4, 3. And you see I keep oopsie daising on the score lines because I'm going fast. You're fine if you oopsie daisy on the score line. You'll just have to remember that. So just keep going. I'm at the 4, 4 1/4, 4 1/2, 4 3/4, 5, 1/4, half, 3/4, whole, 1/4, half, 3/4, whole. That's how we had to learn our fractions when I was in school. All right, so I'm almost down to the end and we're good to go. Okay, so go ahead and take your scoreboard away and grab your paper trimmer. Now, depending on what size rosettes you want, you're going to cut your paper different lengths, 3/4 of an inch, 1 inch, 1 1/2. I typically stay with 3/4 of an inch to 1 inch. And so these ones I'm going to do some small, so I'm going to do 3/4 of an inch. We're going to see how many we get out of this scrap paper I had. So yeah, I would always recommend making more than one, because can you imagine trying to score 1/4 inch marks on this tiny little strip of paper? No, thank you. Wait, work easy, guys. Work easy. All right. Okay. I don't know why my paper is shifting, but it is. Okay. And this last one we'll do 1 inch. Okay. Now you can make a rosette out of the tiny little 1/2 inch, but it's really small and it's really frustrating, so I don't fool with it. Okay, so we'll do the 1 inch one first. Now you're gonna accordion fold or concertine fold depending on what country you live in. So mountain, valley, mountain, valley, mountain. So I kind of just push with my left hand up, like I hold with my right hand and push up, and it will automatically do that mountain, valley, mountain for you if you just kind of guide it and push it up. Just be careful with your oopsie daisy score marks, you know, be mindful of those. So it goes pretty fast once you get the rhythm of pushing it. You can do the old boom and then flip it and keep flipping. But I mean, like I said, they all just easily push up. And once you get a feel for it, you'll be all right. You just got to make sure that you're on those correct score lines. See how fast that went, as opposed to this way, flipping it over that way, flipping. I don't even think I can do it that way. I've watched people do it that way, but just push it up. As much as you can hold, keep it moving. Okay. All right, so there we go. Back to the 1-inch one. So the trick is to make sure that your two pieces match exactly the same. Typically, I have to cut the very last piece off because you want a valley meeting a mountain. So that way it glues over like this and there's no overhang. If you don't cut it off and you have two mountains or two valleys, it's fine, but you can kind of see it in your end design. It's not a huge deal, but I just like the look of, you know, the cleaner. So what I mean by that, see how it makes a V for valley? And then this side makes the M for mountain. And you're just going to glue that side, the valley side to the mountain side. You can use score tape, but it likes to pop. So hot glue. If you are afraid of your hot glue, they do have a cool temp hot glue. It works pretty well. Just make sure you don't glue your thing together. The inside. So see how it just makes a ring? Now all you're going to do is take your pinchers and you're just going to kind of mush it in. Your pinchers to your middle fingers until you can get it to do like that. It don't want to do that, but it will. All right, some people like to punch out little circles, like the 3/4 inch of a circle. You can do that too. Sometimes I do it, sometimes I don't. It just really depends if I have my punch nearby, because they like to have something to hold on that top so they don't burn their fingers. I mean, it's really up to you. This is how I do it. I just like to take a glob of hot glue and I will put my ring. Oh, my hot glue is really hot. You see that steaming? Put your ring and you're just going to push your ring into it, making sure your fingers don't get in that glue bubble. And this is where some people like to go ahead and put their circle, because there was glue, you know, there, and then they just hold it. If you don't put the glue circle, obviously don't hold it. Okay. And my circle is not in the middle. And just kind of test it out and see if it pops up a little bit. Then you need to hold it either by the edges or that middle piece. Let it sit. That's the most part that I have the hardest time, is letting it set. I do not ever let it sit. So same thing with this one. I have two mountains at the end, so I'm going to go ahead and cut one off. And hot glue. And glue that valley to that mountain. I'm going to squeeze it, but making sure I don't glue the back of that together. Because you just want one continuous ring, like, so you can't tell where you glued that valley to that mountain. And if it gets too smushed, just, you know, push it back up together. And you always want to train your rosette before you put it on that hot glue, because your fingers are going to be all up in it. So just mush it down and squish it towards the center. It's going to pop up because you don't have any glue. If you have any of the mountains that are wonky, you know, just smush them back together. And like so. Okay, so this one we're going to go ahead and basically the same concept. Just put some glue down. I mean, that was way too much, but whatever. Give it a second to cool. Like if yours is steaming like mine, don't go for it. Okay, we're not in the business of burning our fingers off. Okay, so I'm just kind of training my rosette. I think I'm gonna let that one be because that's way too much glue. So I'm just gonna do a little tiny dot. I don't know what I was thinking with that first one. But when your hot glue is bubbling and it's white, leave that thing alone. All right, so we're just going to smush it into the glue, let it bubble up, hold it. You can blow on it. You can use a spatula if you want, or just anything with like a metal tip that you can hold it down. Like I have a little spatula if you need to hold it down, you know, but definitely don't touch that glue, and don't use anything that can stick to it. Sometimes I'll use the corner of my silicone pad so you can see it. All right, let's check this one out. Same thing. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and cut that off. Glue. And sorry for the noise. I don't know what's going on outside, but my dogs don't like it. Okay, we're gonna get that ring back around. We're gonna train it. So sometimes you have to stretch it out in order to get it to go into that middle. Don't be afraid. It's just paper. You manipulate it. You're the boss. Just get it to look how you want. You know, train it up. And glob of glue. You can do these with like those pop dots, the really thick ones. But it's a little bit harder because you only get like one shot. With the hot glue, you can manipulate it a little bit. Okay, so hold it. Let it dry. Grab my, or if you have the glue fingers, obviously you can hold it. Oh, I was going to show you how to do it with the mat. So when it's all hot like that, you can just use the side of the mat. Hold on, I'll do this one real fast for you. And then I think you guys get the point. So let's see, let's go for it. Still have time. I try to make these projects under 30 minutes. I mean, technically we're done, but anytime if you, when you're scoring and you end with 1/4 of an inch, then you already know you got to cut it off because you're going to have 2 mountains instead of a mountain and a valley. Okay. And train it. And if you use the Michaels gold, like regular gold, yellow gold paper, it's a lot thinner and it's easier. It won't even, sometimes it doesn't even pop up like this. But if you're using cardstock or like this rose gold paper that does have cardstock on the, you know, it's backed with cardstock, then you want to really, really train it. I lost what I was going. So yeah, you can just kind of hold it in and use the piece of your mat and hold it down. And the hardest part is waiting for it to dry. You know, hot glue is fairly fast, but just waiting that 1 minute sometimes kills me. So that's why I will put the circle down. All right, so you clean up your underneath if you want. Obviously you don't have to. If I have a circle on the top, I'm gonna go ahead and just glue down a circle on the bottom just to kind of make it look like it's finished, it's nice. If I am gifting these unembellished, so like a naked rosette, then I do put the circles just so they have a platform to build their embellishments on. But you don't obviously you don't have to, they're just fine. It just depends on how clean you want it to look. So just for my stash, I don't put any circles down, but if I'm gifting it, I will put a circle down. I want to touch that so bad, but I know it's really hot. But yeah, so that's it. So as you can see, we did a 3/4 inch. This is a 1 inch. The other one's in the box. I think this is a 2 inch. Let's see. It's a 1.5. So this is a 1.5. That's a 1.5. So you can kind of see the difference in sizes. just between 3/4 inch, 1 inch, and 1.5. So these are 1.5 by 11. The larger you make your measurement, like the 1.5, I would suggest using longer paper. If not, then you'll get the ones that are frayed, or not frayed, but they are flatter on the edges, whereas the smaller ones are pointier on the edges. So you see the difference there? Because I had to stretch this paper to get it down. I still think it looks beautiful, but it's just your preference. All right, guys. Well, I hope you make the box, and I hope you learn some new techniques on rosettes. And thanks for watching, guys. Bye.